everybody to today's training. Today we'll be working with some very special mental exercise training techniques, the zone-to-zone attention control drill techniques. We'll be working with both the basic and advanced versions of these drills. The zone-to-zone attention control techniques are very powerful. You need them in your arsenal if you're going to be a master of attention control and mental concentration. These are also precursors to power of will training as well as impulse control training. If you get good at these techniques, everything else will be very easy for you. My name is T. Levon Lawrence. I'm a neurosculpting certified mental fitness trainer, instructor, and business consultant. I'm the author of the Brain Fitness blog at neurosculpting.com and the host of the Mental Power Hour online radio show at blogtalkradio.com. The benefits you'll get from mastering these techniques are many. However, there are 4 things I really want you to look out for, and they are the 4 measures of success that we use at the Online Mental Fitness Training Studio so that you'll know you're succeeding. At any time, you can use these 4 measures. First, skills acquisition based on your baseline measurements. Are you getting good at this technique? Are you improving over time? You can get this result by measuring how well you do at many types of techniques. Some techniques cannot be measured, but the zone-to-zone attention control drill techniques can be measured if you feel like baselining them. The way I normally recommend it to people is that you don't baseline because I don't see any real need to. You set your timer, you drill and train for a certain period of time, and then you drop it and you're done for that particular day. If you want to baseline it, not a problem. You use your baseline performance measuring sheet. You conduct the technique 3 times. You measure how long you're able to continue the drill without becoming distracted. You add those 3 times together. You divide by 3. That's your baseline time. A month down the road, after you've been training with this technique regularly, you can baseline yourself again and see if you've improved. Now, that's skill acquisition based on your baseline measurement. You should have acquired skill over a specific amount of time. That's a standard of success when it comes to mental exercise training. Your other measure of success is knowledge acquisition based on the training sessions you engage in. When you engage in mental exercise training sessions regularly every day, 30 to 45 minutes or more a day, there's a certain kind of knowledge you're going to acquire while you're doing this. You're going to be mastering your attention control, your ability to control thoughts and deal with them. You're going to be mastering the ability to detect and deal with emotional content. You're going to be able to resist or stand still in the face of even hurricane-force impulse and urge and compelling impulse winds. You're not going to be a slave dancing on strings of impulses and urges that flow through your central nervous system. You're going to be able to see these things as you conduct your training. They are intuitive. They will simply occur to you. You'll then be able to apply those things to your life. Another measure of success we have is symptom reduction based on the self-assessments that you do when you become a member of the studio. There are 3 types of self-assessments that you do. A self-assessment for attention control and mental concentration, one for mental focus, and one for power of will and impulse control. The symptoms that you note in those self-assessments, are they reducing in their frequency and their impact on your life? For instance, if your attention tends to wander a lot, and that's one of the things you checked off on your assessment, that can cost you a lot of money. That can have a great impact in many areas of your life. But as you train with these techniques, especially a technique like zone-to-zone attention control drill, your mind should stop wandering so much. It should happen less frequently. You should have better control over your attention. That means the impact on your life should decrease. There should be added benefits because of that. When you're able to control your attention, you're able to deal with your thoughts. You're able to deal with unwanted and chaotic thought patterns. You're able to better handle emotional surges that go through your body. When you can control your attention, you absolutely have control over whether or not you obey any impulse that flows through your central nervous system. In other words, when you master a technique like zone-to-zone attention control, you have the ability to rule over your own self. Your self-discipline is greatly enhanced through this type of technique. If your self-discipline is greatly enhanced, then symptoms that indicate poor self-discipline should be disappearing from your life. So that's a measure of success. Another measure of success is practical application based on life goals. Are you able to convert the gains and knowledge that you get from this training, convert that over to get benefits from the rest of your life? Are you able to use these skills in your daily life in order to get greater benefit? Well, of course, as you master these types of techniques and you gain greater self-control and self-discipline, you get powerful mental concentration and attention control and mental focus skills and power of will and impulse control. You're going to have various mental, physical, spiritual, social, and financial perks. And to tell you the truth, especially when it comes to spiritual, social, and financial perks, there's no limit. You can literally set your limit as high as your goals as high as you want, and you'll be able to achieve them because you own yourself. You know you're going to be able to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you want to or not, and you can control whether you want to or not. The benefits of mastering the zone-to-zone attention control drill, basic or advanced, of course you'll wind up getting to advanced, the benefits are amazing. Now, before you begin the technique, make sure you do your preparatory statement. Log into the Neural Sculpting Online Mental Fitness Training Center. When you get to the training page, look for the training module on drafting a proper preparatory statement. Your preparatory statement is a tool that you can use to get yourself ready, get your mind centered in preparation for training. Of course, your preparatory statement, I'm not going to get into detail now, but it has 4 parts to it. It states that this time is your time. That mind, your mind is your mind. You have the rightful authority to command it, to rule over, to get it to do what you want it to do. You'll tolerate no interference whatsoever from within or without. And there's nothing more important than what you're about to do in conducting this particular training session. Nothing. Especially considering that what you learn and the skills you acquire through this training are going to deeply impact every single area of your life. This needs to be your priority. This needs to be the top most important thing in your day, because it will elevate every other part of your day as you improve in your skills. Now, let's talk a little bit about the technique, zone-to-zone attention control drills. Now, zone-to-zone attention control drills set the stage for your ability to literally switch your power of concentration, from external situations to your internal state, and willfully control the way you think, feel, and behave. Remember, you are training what is called your executive control function, which is basically the forward part of your brain, centered in the forward part of your brain, your ability to own yourself, manage your life, think, plan for goals, set your destiny, control your behavior, establish new habits. Basically, it is the seat of you, your consciousness in your brain. Zone-to-zone attention control drills set the stage for you to take willful control of that, giving you the ability to control the way you think and feel and behave. Now, most people just kind of meander and wander through life, and they rely on whatever basic conditioning they grew up with. The laws, the rules, the beliefs, the thoughts that have been conditioned into them, that's what they rely on to guide them through life, and they wind up, well, wherever they wind up. But by mastering a technique like this, you cut the strings of being a puppet, and you begin to blaze your own trail to establish your own destiny. Now, these techniques place you in immediate control of your ECF, shutting down distracting, prattling streams of thought, while they fortify your strength of resolve. And I want to make sure I emphasize this. These techniques give you inner strength and self-command at will, while they heighten your ability to concentrate. It gives you better control and better flexibility when it comes to mental concentration. And remember, William James, psychologist and philosopher, wrote more than 100 years ago that effort of attention is the essential phenomenon of will. Again, I told you before, zone-to-zone attention control drills are a precursor to power of willpower training. These techniques not only put you into contact with your ability to exert your own will at will, rather than being driven constantly by impulses and urges. It places you in a position of being a master of the one tool necessary to gain greater willpower, to freely and fully express your potential in this life. Now, the exercise category, remember there are there's actually about 6 categories, but we have 4 main categories: attention control training, intellectual, sensory, and intuitive techniques. The zone-to-zone attention control drills are intellectual and attention control techniques. They're mainly attention control techniques, but because they have such a powerful effect on your cognitive control skills, such a powerful impact on your executive control function, we do classify it also as an intellectual technique. The areas of improvement that you can expect to experience because of this technique, your attention control skills should skyrocket, but you're going to have to work. This is not something you can dabble in. You have to become good by practicing this technique consistently every day if you can. It's a profound technique. Your mental endurance, your ability to exert mental power and effort for extended periods of time. This greatly enhances your mental endurance. Your cognitive flexibility, your ability to handle multiple types of effort through will with your own brain, to be able to handle multiple types of problems and issues, to be able to be flexible and going from one thing to the next without skipping a beat. Basically, it improves what is called your fluid intelligence, because it boosts your working memory by getting all that crap that interferes with your efficient working memory usage, gets all that crap off the stage of your mind. And it boosts your self-control. Remember, because it impacts your executive control function in your frontal lobes, the forward part of your brain, who you are, the central seat of you. Because it greatly impacts that and enhances it and augments your skill in that area, it boosts your ability to rule over yourself. So if you're impulsive, if you tend to veer right and left, of course, if you have low self-discipline, this is the technique for you. Now, when we deal with attention and mental concentration and consciousness in the studio, we like to use the illustration of the attention bubble, that you have a bubble of attention. You can increase the size of it, or you can shrink it down to a point. You can control it and direct it where you want to go. We also like to use the illustration of a camera, that your attention and your consciousness is like wielding a camera, the lens of a camera. You can direct the camera where you want it to go. You can zoom in and zoom out. The size of your lens, the size of your attention bubble, is subjectively and effectively the size of your consciousness, of your awareness, of your knowing that you know what's really going on with yourself and the world. Your ability to perceive the world around you and yourself is directly tied into your attention bubble or your camera lens. So, your perceptual focus when using this technique is going to work in a certain way. You're going to direct your bubble or your lens in this way. You're going to be close up, and you're going to be panoramic. You're going to zoom in and you're going to widen out as far as you can go, exactly as if you're using a camera. And you're going to do so across all 4 zones of attention. And there are 4 zones of attention. We'll go over them shortly. But the zones are your full external environment, a narrow window of your environment down even to the size of a point. That's close-up environment versus panoramic environment. Your third zone is panoramic on your body. You got a wide shot of your body. You can perceive the entirety of your body, of your physical form, and then you can narrow your lens down to a point, to just a small part of your body. Now, you can direct your attention bubble or your lens onto your external world, onto your body, or onto your own thoughts. But today, we're going to be working with your external environment and your body. So all 4 attention zones, and we're not even dealing with thought right now. In a way, though, the attention targets that go to thought are still really working with your body. It's just that it's kind of a different experience. It's not like turning attention onto your physical form. You're actually dealing in thought, which does not necessarily feel like your physical body. When you're in thought, it's an entirely different experience. So all 4 attention zones. Now, when you're dealing with these techniques, when you're doing this technique, it's like going to the gym. It's like going for a workout. You're going to be flexing mental muscles, however. You're going to be exerting yourself mentally, cognitively. It is a mental exercise. And here's how you're going to exert yourself. You're going to be exerting yourself by directing your attention onto a specific target. A specific target. You're going to be directing your attention. One moment, let me verify that we still have good sound quality. Looks like we do. Good. You're going to be directing your attention onto specific targets. And then you're going to be holding your attention onto the specific targets that you choose. Directing and holding. It's like lifting a weight and then holding that weight there, except you're dealing in mental muscles. The application level. How does this apply to you as a person? This is task-oriented mental concentration. It helps you get good at staying on task for extended periods of time. And I'm not talking merely getting paperwork done or anything like that. Whatever you decide to place your mind on, you can hold it there. That's the kind of mental concentration that this boosts. Now, what are you going to need for the zone-to-zone attention control drills? Very simple. You're going to need a timer, a stopwatch, or a clock that has an alarm to notify you that your session is completed. Now, of course, I expect you to do minimum 20, 30, 45-minute sessions. The longer your session, the better off you are. If you're doing like some people want and just do 10, 15 minutes, it's going to take you forever to learn what you need to learn and to get the benefits you need to. If you're really serious, if you've adopted a mental fitness lifestyle, you need to dive into this fully. Now, you're also going to make sure that you use your training tracker. Log into the studio, go into one of the first few training modules, and download your mental exercise training tracker so that you can keep track of the date, the time, the amount of time you spent on the technique, the category, obstacles you've ran into, what you did to overcome those obstacles, and the ideas you brainstorm on applying what you learn to your daily life. It's very important. So, very simple. That's all you're going to need. Now, to begin the technique, you're going to access all 4 zones of attention targeting. Now, of course, remember, you can also target thought, but we're not worried about thought right now. There are other techniques that deal with targeting thought, other intellectual techniques, and some intuitive techniques also. All we're concerned about right now is basically targeting the zones of attention, okay? Environment, panoramic shot, environment close-up shot, your own body close-up, your own body panoramic also. So here's how you're going to do it. Body close-up. The first thing you're going to do is begin by centering your attention onto your own body. Close up. Remember the camera lens. You're going to zoom in to the sensation of the tip of your tongue lightly touching the roof of your mouth. Now, are there alternatives to this? Yes. You can place your fingertips together and just zoom in on the sensation where one finger meets the other finger, just the fingertips. Don't try to do all your fingertips. Do like the index finger or middle finger, pinky ring, or pinky finger, whichever one you want. But you're going to zoom in just on that tiny sensation. Note Our Lady right here. You see how the attention bubble, the lens of her attention, is narrowed in, is zoomed in close up for the sensation of the tip of her tongue touching the roof of her mouth. Now you're going to let all of your attention rest there alone, letting all other sensations fade into the background. Now you are concentrating on that one thing. That is narrowing your attention. It kind of reminds me of the singular mental concentration builder, where you just zoom in on a dot or the candle flame. You're narrowing in on that one point of sensation. Now, after about 1 minute, and I know you have a timer, but I'd like you to try to judge this whenever you feel comfortable. In other words, it doesn't have to be exactly 1 minute, but after a time, about 1 minute or so, I want you to go ahead and expand the perimeter of your attention bubble, your lens of attention, to encompass your entire body and its sensations, panoramically. And that's not just the physical sensations. Go ahead and take in hearing, smell, taste, everything. Take in all of your sensations panoramically. You just blew up the bubble. You just opened up the aperture of your lens. And now you're taking in your entire body. Next, after about another minute or so, judge it. Go ahead and expand your attention bubble even further panoramically to take in the sensations of your environment. Again, it's all five senses: sight, sound, taste, everything. You're completely opening up your perception, expanding that attention bubble as far out as you can manage, but you're not letting go of control. You're doing this on purpose. You're doing this willfully. You are directing your attention, commanding it to do a particular thing for you. Expanding your attention bubble out panoramically to your environment. And after about another minute, you're going to take your attention and you're going to narrow it down. You're going to shrink your attention bubble, your lens of attention, to the details of one single object or target in your external surroundings. In the case of Our Lady here, you can see she shrunk her attention bubble, her lens of attention, from panoramic environment all the way down to close-up environment. Now, do you see? She went from close-up onto her body to panoramic, taking her whole body into account, and then boosted it out even further to take in the entire panoramic experience of environment. And now she shrunk it down. She commanded it down to the small point of the one particular target. Now here, the red bubble shows that she's taking in the candle, but you can shrink it down even smaller. Use some serious control and command and control. Get the candle flame itself, or a dot, or a grain of sand, or whatever you want to do. Now, the next thing you're going to do after, say, about a minute or so, is you're going to reverse the pattern by moving from environment close up. Remember, you shrunk your bubble. Now you're going to expand it to environment panoramic. And then when you get to environment panoramic, you've expanded your bubble out. Remember, you're taking in all your senses at that point. You're going to shrink it down to panoramic body. Still, all senses. And then you're going to shrink it down further, close up, to either the tip of the tongue on the roof of your mouth or fingertips, however you want to do it. Now, here's key. Whenever you are close up, shut out all other sensations, whether you're close up body or close up environment. Whenever you are panoramic, take in all sensations, all senses. Now, you've been doing that for about a minute. Just continue repeating. Continue repeating the technique. for the entire session, say 20 minutes, 30 minutes, however you want to do it. Do it 15-minute session, take a short break, do another 15-minute session. And all you're going to do is continue to repeat. Remember, one of the things you're going to build by doing this, because you're really tapping into your executive control function, is the ability for self-control. And you're going to build self-control by exerting your will, by calling on your personal power of resolve. In each zone that you're working on at that moment, dismiss all thought or distraction so that you can focus entirely on that zone itself. Resolve. Make it happen. Don't strain or become particularly tense. There's really no need to. But just make sure that, of course, remember your preparatory statement. You're not interested in any form of interference. So that must mean you are only interested in what you're doing here. And when you're interested in something, your brain will give you a hand in making sure that you attend to it. And again, what you attend to willfully becomes interesting for you. Now, let's talk about some advanced adjustments. This is not the advanced version yet, because we haven't gotten to the advanced version. Just some adjustments to make the technique more challenging for you. If you can do it 1 minute in each zone with no problem, kick it up a notch, as the chef Emerald would say. Bam! For more progress, lengthen the time for resting attention in each zone from 1 minute to 2 or 3 or even 5 minutes. So instead of resting in one zone, like body close-up for 1 minute, do it for 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Then proceed to the next zone and do the same thing. Make it tougher. Challenge yourself. And here's why. Anything that your brain gets used to and starts to become easy, your progress is going to stop. Yes, you learned something in getting there. You acquired skill as you got there, but now your brain is bored because it's so easy. So you have to kick it up a notch. You have to keep these techniques unique and novel so that they'll continue to challenge your brain, so that they'll continue to kick off the production of neurotrophins like BDNF that feed your brain cells and fatten them up, make them healthier. Produces new brain cells, increases the number of connections among brain cells, which of course increases speed of processing. In other words, you're increasing brain power by continuing to challenge yourself more and more. So again, kick it up a notch as you get used to the technique by lingering in the zone for increased amounts of time. Now let's talk about the advanced version of this technique. Let's say you've been kicking it up a notch for a while. You've been doing this 45, 90 days. You're able to rest in each zone for 3-5 minutes with no problem. Now, there is no need for you got 4 zones and you're repeating. There's no need to go and try to do it for 10 minutes in each zone. Okay? No need to do that. Here's what you do. Go to the advanced version, and the way that's going to work is you're going to find a place to conduct this technique where you will be completely surrounded by noise and visual disturbances, such as an extremely busy restaurant, a bustling train station or airport, a loud coffee shop, or a sidewalk cafe on a crowded street, or just turn on both like a television and a stereo to a distracting volume, and just make sure that the television or radio program is something you like so that it serves as an even more challenging distraction for you. Conduct the technique in that kind of environment. Then try to do it for a minute in each zone, 2 minutes, 3 minutes in each zone, 5 minutes in each zone as you get really good. Let me tell you something. You do this advanced version, and you can do 5 minutes in each zone without becoming significantly distracted. That is extremely powerful cognitive control skill. That's something that should be directly applicable to your personal life. And if you cannot figure out how to apply skill like that to your personal life, you contact me, trainer@neurosculpting.com, and I will gladly tell you how to do it. There's no way in the world I'm going to let you not apply that to your life, because when you're at that level, that is a world-class level of mental performance. So, if you run into resistance, it's going to be from one of the four horsemen of mental resistance. Perhaps you might encounter the fact that your attention wants to wander off into thought. You might encounter that your attention wants to wander off into external distractions. Of course, your body might want to move around because you're impulsive. Or you might encounter mental and physical fatigue. Now, when it comes to mental and physical fatigue, that's something you can take care of easily. Make sure that you are eating a brain-healthy diet. Remember, so goes the body, so goes the brain. If you're eating a bunch of junk food, sodas and candy and food that drains your energy as opposed to contributing more energy to your body, that's going to affect your brain. Your brain is part of your body. So make sure you're taking care of yourself from a dietary standpoint, and make sure you're engaging in regular, healthy physical exercise, which is scientifically proven to help you in brain training, because physical exercise is a fundamental basis for producing the same types of proteins in the brain that strengthen brain cells, produce new brain cells, and help increase the number of connections among brain cells. So you're getting the double benefit when you've got a healthy physical condition while you're training your mind also. Now, as for the other three, wandering attention into thoughts or onto distractions, you know, hey, all you got to do is keep training. Keep training. You will lose that habit. Impulsivity, keep training. Your body will begin to obey your mental command. Make sure you're not tensing up too much while you're doing this technique. Yes, it is a strenuous mental exertion, but there's no need for you to lose so much focus in the technique that you allow your body to tense up rigid to where it's almost painful and uncomfortable. Now, the most important thing you need to remember when you encounter resistance is that your target is your target. Your resistance is not your target. Don't allow yourself to be distracted by the resistance itself. Keep your mind on your target. And in most cases, the resistance will let go, because you'll be detaching resources, mental resources, that resistance requires to operate. You'll be detaching those resources and reallocating them to the carrying out of the technique. It's called the law of displacement. Well, it's the psychological law of displacement. It's one of the three main ways that you can affect thought. Controlling attention. Controlling attention deprives thought processes of what they need in order to operate. Why? Because you're redirecting everything to control of attention. So that's how you deal with mental resistance. Now, during this technique, I don't expect that you will encounter that much internal distraction, because the law of displacement during the zone-to-zone attention control drill is so strong, your mind so busy, it really doesn't have a lot of time to be distracted. Now, when you start to lengthen the amount of time you're resting your attention in the individual zones, then you may have to deal with some temptation for distraction, thoughts, internal dialogue. But when you're in the minute, 2-minute category, you shouldn't have that much of an issue. But if you do encounter the four horsemen, especially with attention wandering into thoughts or external distractions, here's how you know you've messed up the technique. Now, if you're not baselining yourself, don't stop just because you become distracted. Just get back on that horse and get going. Continue with the technique the entire time. You'll know you're fully distracted when you totally forget, even briefly, what you're supposed to be doing because your attention was completely hijacked by a thought for more than a few seconds. When you totally forget, when you disengage your target to go wandering off into thought, you've forgotten your target, what you're supposed to be doing, that's fully distracted. Now, when something outside, an external distraction, steals your attention for a brief moment and you've totally forgotten what you were supposed to be doing, you've disengaged the target, that is fully distracted. Now, if you're not baselining, if you're not trying to measure how well you can do the technique, if you're not trying to get an average time of uncorrupted attention control, then don't stop the technique, just keep going. You're not fully distracted if even while in the midst of being tempted by distraction, you maintain your target. As long as you hold that target and remember what you're supposed to be doing, distraction can hit you upside the head. The winds of distraction can blow against you and try to throw you off the path, and you are still on course because you've got your mind on the target and you're holding it. It's not easy. It's shaky. It's a little flimsy, but you've still got it. That counts as success because you're going to be able to apply that resolve, that persistent refusal to let go. You're going to be able to apply that to other areas of your life. Wow, what a powerful personal characteristic to develop. Now, remember to take effective training notes. When you take training notes, you want to know the date, the time you spent on the technique itself. You want to jot down what type of obstacles you encountered. Which of the 4 horsemen really bothered you the most? And what did you do to overcome them? What did you do? What tactic did you take in order to get past the 4 horsemen of mental resistance? And then you want to make note, what does that mean that you were able to overcome them? Those 4 horsemen of mental resistance are the greatest perpetrators of interference to human progress on the planet. Those are the 4 main problems with human beings. I'll explain that in another training. But because people can't control their attention, they can't control their thoughts, they can't control their emotions, they can't control their impulses, they can't control themselves, they can't keep themselves out of trouble, they can't get themselves to do what they need to do when they need to do it, whether they want to do it or not, and do it with absolute excellence and mental concentration. Because people have such a hard time doing that, that is why there's so much trouble in the world, so much trouble with people, and perhaps that's why you may be having so many issues in your life, and your life may not be the way you want it. So as you're developing these skills and you're learning these lessons and you're overcoming these forms of mental resistance, you want to brainstorm, how do I apply this to other areas of my life? What does this mean? Be creative. Figure it out. Allow your natural, intelligent intuition to reveal to you how this can be applied. If you're able to control your attention and direct your attention where you want for as long as you want, you should have hardly any symptoms that people normally jot down in their self-assessments. And if you've got those symptoms, the more you train with these techniques, those symptoms should be reduced, which means you should be getting more benefits in other areas of your life. But in some cases, in order for you to get those benefits, you're going to have to take what you learn and practice it elsewhere. If you can control your attention, even for a little bit, consciously, willfully, in these training sessions, you can do the same thing at work. You can do the same thing in social situations. You can do the same thing when you're about to do something you know you're not supposed to do. You can do the same thing when you're about to procrastinate on something you know you're supposed to do. You can get control of yourself in the moment because you've practiced it in your training sessions. That's why effective notes are so important. And of course, to take effective notes, make sure to download your mental exercise training tracker. Just log into the studio, look at the first few training modules, and you'll find it in each one of them.